I feel very delighted to introduce you today to Mr. Kalman Aron, who's not only a very talented painter with an interesting past, but also someone with a great vitality and a great sense of humor. These three traits, artistic talent, vitality, and humor, made Mr. Aron survive the atrocities during World War II. Mr. Aron, in your biography, we can read that you were placed in 7 concentration camps, including the Riga Ghetto, Kaiserswald, Popperwallen, Dundaga, Stutthof, Theresienstadt, and Buchenwald. Do you remember what your feelings were during that time and how that affected you?
Well, I was mainly concerned about the daily survival, you know. Would I have enough to eat, and would I still be alive tomorrow? You know, that's what actually happened, you know. That was my main concern.
And how did you lose your family?
My family, my father and the uncle were taken out of the house we lived in, and the first few days when the occupation came, the German occupation came, the Latvians came into our house and took out so my father and uncle were killed. And then we were taken, my brother and I were taken to the ghetto. They opened up the ghetto later on, and we were taken there, and then we were working outside the ghetto, but we were trucked, getting on trucks, going to slave labor every day, and we were doing this for about 2 years. And the last day, we came back from the slave labor in the evening, and nobody was there in the camp. They were all killed. They took them to the forest, and they had dug graves, and we didn't know about it, where everybody disappeared suddenly.
Did you ever feel any hatred towards the Latvians or Germans?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And were you ever grateful towards the Russians who liberated the
Well,
camps?
of course, you know, we didn't know who was going to liberate us. We didn't know if we were even going to get liberated, and we were, of course, we were glad, you know.
And wasn't there a time when you were just able to communicate to your brother who was kept in Russia, and the communication was censored?
After we were liberated, you know, 6 of us, you know, put on trucks to go to Russia and go into the Russian army. One of the reasons was when the Russians occupied Latvia, 1940 to 41, automatically everybody became a citizen. So when they found out we were from Latvia, they were going to put us in the Russian army. And 6 of us escaped, and we wound up in the American zone. Finally, it's a long story about that, how we wound up there, and then we were in the American zone in Salzburg, Austria.
And as a child prodigy, someone who had his first exhibit at age 7, and someone who was assigned to paint the Prime Minister, Carlos Ulmanis, at age 13, were you at all able to work creatively during the time you were kept in the camps?
Well, this was by doing that, by having an exhibition at age 7, obviously I was capable of doing drawings, and after doing the portrait of the Prime Minister of Latvia, I was very, very capable of doing a good likeness of people, you know. While I was in the camp, I realized that the only way I will survive is doing something that I'm capable of doing, is getting a pencil from somebody and a piece of paper and doing a sketch of the guard.
And wasn't there also a time when you had to do like a miniature drawing?
Yeah, in one small camp in Popperwallen, it was a very small camp. The head of the camp found out that he saw a drawing that I did of one of the guards. He got me into his room, locked me in there, and gave me 2 photographs of his mother and father, and into a little, doing it a miniature to put it into a locket. You have this ring, you know, and they put it in there, and it was so small. I didn't have a magnifying glass or anything. I was sharpening the pencil every minute to make it like a needle sharp, and that kept me for quite a while there. And I could have done it in a much shorter time, of course. Otherwise, I would be outside doing slave labor. So that I started doing it wherever I could in any camp that I was in, and you know, some of them, like in Buchenwald, I couldn't do that. It was a large camp.
And wasn't there also a time in 1943, 1944, where you had to paint like a German doctor?
Yeah, that was in Riga, Latvia, when we were taken out. We were working in a factory, and the doctor was I think he was a painter himself, and he got me an easel and paints and canvas, and I did the painting. It's the only time during the 4 years I did the painting, actually. Most of the times I was doing drawings, sketches, drawings with pencil, charcoal pencil.
And Mr. Aron, after your experience in the camps, did your artwork resemble any of your emotions at the time?
Well, of course, when I first came out of the camps, and then I wound up in Salzburg and then in Vienna, and got a full scholarship at the academy in Vienna. And then even in Vienna, it was very dark. The paintings were much darker, the drawings were darker. And when I came to Vienna, actually when I came to the United States afterwards, this is one of the drawings I did in the beginning, and that's symbolic of people in the camp. You know, I mean, it didn't look like anybody I knew exactly, but this was a symbolic picture in black and white, charcoal. And this was the mother and child. I did this in 1951, and I did a sketch first, and a little tiny sketch, and from there, this is 8 feet tall.
Were there any artists you were influenced by?
Well, this was my own style that I was doing it in. I was influenced by a little bit of Cubism, maybe Picasso, and in Vienna I was influenced by Egon Schiele and Kelly Kolowitz. This is all my own style, you know. I don't know if it was a self-portrait, but this is what people looked like. That was one of my early drawings. This was myself. And the rock that you see there in the camp in Buchenwald, we had to sleep outdoors, you know. And I remember I used as a pillow. I used that rock there. I mean, not as big as this, but I mean, I used it as a pillow. And that I did right in the beginning when I first came to the United States, to California.
In California, you continued with your portrait paintings of children, and then during the same time you developed your own style. You did, for instance, old buildings, you painted
Yeah,
old
well,
buildings.
when I came here, yes, I was very interested in the old buildings in downtown. Bunker Hill, it's called. Now, of course, they have all the new buildings there. And I used to go there practically every day. I couldn't speak the language. My ex-wife and I, when we came here, she spoke English. She was from Vienna. And I learned it very quickly, actually. And I used to go around and do the landscapes. I really enjoyed it, the old buildings.